Hello, and welcome to the 38th episode of Jazzology, presented by Savage Content. I'm your host, Willard Jenkins. We're here alternating Fridays, giving two jazz fans the opportunity to compete against each other for a chance to win $100. Each contestant will be asked a question worth 2 points. If they're unable to answer correctly, their opponent will have a chance to steal the question for 1 point. We'll ask 10 questions, and at the end of the 10 questions, the person with the lowest score will get a bonus question for the opportunity to tie the score. If they're successful, the game will go to sudden death. The person in the lead at the end of regulation will go first, and each contestant will take turns trying to answer the sudden death multiple choice question until we have a winner. And now let's meet this week's contestants. Our reigning Jazzology champion is Brian Bacchus, who is, in music industry parlance, a true record man. He's a Grammy-winning record producer, ex-A&R man, and record label head who has spent time at most of the major and at some independent labels. And Brian Bacchus works with the Charlie Parker Jazz Festival. Brian, are you all set to defend your Jazzology championship today?
I hope so.
All right. Well, our challenger for this 38th episode of Jazzology is trombonist Rich Pulin, who has played with such legends as Charlie Barnett, Tommy Dorsey, and Clark Terry. Rich has appeared on Dutch TV with such legends as Richard Harris and Joe Cocker, and is a protege of Billy Mitchell with a lifetime of unforgettable jazz experiences. So, Rich, what made you eager to play Jazzology?
Well, I just wanted to see if 64 years in the jazz pursuit somehow qualified me to be able to answer these questions. I don't know.
All right. Well, we shall see. Well, let's get to today's Jazzology questions, shall we? And as our reigning champion, Brian Bacchus goes first. Brian.
Yes, sir.
Baritone saxophonist Pepper Adams was born in Highland Park, Michigan, and attended what university? Would that have been A, the University of Michigan, B, Wayne State University, C, Michigan State University, D, New England Conservatory, or E, Central Michigan University?
Wow. One of my favorite baritone players, one of my favorite saxophone players, period. Boy, I actually do not know where, but I'm going to take a guess and say that he attended, I don't think he was at New England, which is the only really major conservatory that I know of here in this, from his time at least. I'm going to say Wayne State University, B.
That is correct. Pepper Adams, the great baritone saxophonist, matriculated at Wayne State University in Detroit. All right, Rich, you ready?
I hope so.
Pianist Orrin Evans studied at Rutgers University under which of the following piano greats? Was that A, Kenny Barron, B, Herbie Hancock, C, George Cables, D, John Lewis, or E, Toshiko Akiyoshi?
Well, first of all, I have to plead some kind of ignorance on the player. I'm not that familiar with his name, but I don't know if logic has any bearing on this. I know that Kenny Barron has a lot of connection with jazz education. Not that the others don't, but I would, in lieu of any real information on this fellow, I would have to say I guess Kenny Barron.
Well, Rich, you guessed correctly. Orrin Evans did indeed study with Kenny Barron at Rutgers University. Brian,
Yes, sir.
as a teenager in the UK, bassist Dave Holland was first attracted to which of the following bass greats? Would that have been A, Ray Brown, B, Leroy Vinnegar, C, Paul Chambers, D, Milt Hinton, or E, Jimmy Blanton?
Wow. Wow, you're pulling them out this year. Okay. I'm just trying to narrow it down to what he may have been exposed to
Mm-hmm.
and in the UK. Wow. I'm thinking, I'm sure he would have had a chance to hear most of them, but um, I'm thinking that there are two that he probably would hear most. His age. I'm going to go with A, Ray Brown.
You're batting 1,000 here. And you
Yeah, that
know,
was a tough one. That was a real tough one.
For some folks, that might have been a trick question. And I say that because Dave Holland has always credited first Ray Brown and second Leroy Vinnegar as his major influences early on. But Ray Brown was the first that he was exposed to. Rich, pianist Benny Green made 9 albums with which jazz great? Was it A, Betty Carter, B, Art Blakey, C, Ray Brown, D, Freddie Hubbard, or E, Houston Person?
Where are you finding these questions? Man, I'm telling you. Well, he's a guy that I've just recently started following, actually on Facebook. He's a, I discovered he's a very good player, number one, naturally. And number two, he's very interesting. He's got a lot of great stories.
Yes, he does.
But I don't know. Again, let's see if I was observant at all. Um, and I guess there's some logic is involved as well, maybe. But I'd have to go with a guy that I happen to know personally. He came up to me at the Newport Jazz Festival in 1977 and complimented me for my performance with Tito Fuentes that year. I'd have to go with Art Blakey.
Art Blakey? Nope, that is incorrect. And Brian Bacchus with a chance to steal the point. I will repeat the question. Pianist Benny Green made 9 albums with which jazz great? Would that have been A, Betty Carter, B, Art Blakey, C, Ray Brown, D, Freddie Hubbard, or E, Houston Person? And B, Art Blakey has been eliminated.
Wow. So I don't think it's Betty, although when I first met Benny, he had just joined Betty's group, but it was they did not make 9 albums after that. and I know Art Blakey's not in it. He did do a long stint with Ray Brown, which I know affected him. I actually just saw Benny this weekend playing solo,
Yeah, at
and he
Birdland.
was wonderful. Yeah, he was just wonderful. Um, I'm I have a feeling like this is going to throw me, but I'm going to go with C. Ray Brown again. Oh wow,
Ray
that was a
Brown
tough
is
one.
indeed the answer for 2 consecutive questions. So Brian
Yeah.
steals the point. Benny Green made 9 albums with Ray Brown. You're up next, Brian. At age 18, pianist George Cables formed a band called the Jazz Samaritans. What other future jazz great was the drummer in that band, the Jazz Samaritans? Was it A, Billy Hart, B, Tony Williams, C, Peter Erskine, D, Billy Cobham, or E, Billy Higgins?
Wow. Okay. Well, I'm looking at all these drummers, and almost all of them are more associated with the East Coast. Billy Hart, certainly out of DC, and Tony Williams out of Boston. Peter, I'm not so sure about, but I think he's also East Coast. Billy Cobham, obviously out of New York. Billy Higgins is from the West Coast, and I'm thinking that it's going to be E, Billy Higgins.
That is
Ooh,
incorrect. And
okay.
Rich with an opportunity to steal the question. At age 18, pianist George Cable
Oh,
formed a band called the Jazz Samaritans. What other future jazz great was the drummer in that band? Was it A, Billy Hart, B, Tony Williams, C, Peter Erskine, or D, Billy Cobham? E, Billy Higgins has been eliminated.
Um, these are all tough questions. Uh, I agree with you.
That's why we call it Jazzology.
Okay. All right. The guys that I would make a kind of an age association. Um, the only guys that should have been in that same ballpark age-wise, I think. So they all would have been pretty young, but I'm gonna go with Tony Williams.
Tony Williams?
Yeah.
That too is incorrect. When George
Billy.
Cable formed a band called the Jazz Samaritans at age 18, the drummer in that band was B, Billy
Yeah.
Cobham.
It was on the East Coast, right?
Yeah,
It was during his time. 'Cause I forgot that he came here. He was here.
yes.
Yeah.
Jazzology is
Okay.
brought to you by Savage Content. Savage Content is building music, art, and creative content for the soul, spirit, and empowerment. This week's Spotlight is brought to you by the Boundless Art Foundation, co-sponsor of All Without Words Live, inspired by the struggles, triumphs, and humanity of his nonverbal autistic son, Justin Morel, a guitarist, composer, and music professor, uses technology to interpret the recordings of his son's spontaneous vocalizations and discovers something bigger than a melody, a symphony. Justin collaborates with multiple Grammy-winning trumpeter John DeVersa, the Cincinnati Symphony Orchestra, and the Henry Mancini Institute from the Frost School of Music at University of Miami, Florida, to present a world premiere live experience of All Without Words, live on September 20th, 2023 at the Cincinnati Music Hall in Cincinnati, Ohio. Visit awwlive.com for more information. That's awwlive.com. And our Jazzology new record of the week comes from the young trombonist, bandleader Javier Nero, titled Time. The arrangements on this large ensemble recording are particularly notable, as is the appearance of the DMV's own songbird, Christy Dashiell. Javier Nero, Time. Javier Nero and his jazz orchestra Kemet. Yes, indeed. That's our record of the week. And now it's time to ask our favorite question. Rich, how did you fall in love with jazz?
How much time do I have?
You got 30 seconds.
That's impossible. That's impossible. Well, it happened, this is all I've done pretty much for my entire adult life. I'm getting ready to celebrate my 82nd birthday in October, and 64 of those years have been involved in jazz, or actually more like 70. Because I started it about 14, and I went through right away. I don't remember ever not being a professional.
So it's safe to say that jazz has been a lifelong pursuit.
It has, yeah.
Yes, it has. Yeah. Brian, the Charlie Parker Jazz Festival begins tomorrow evening. What are you most looking forward to?
Actually begins, Friday, right? I tell you more the camaraderie to see all the artists, because I haven't been in New York, so I haven't seen a lot of people in a while. And so over those 3 days, I see a lot of musicians, both the leaders and the sidemen, and I get to hear some new music, get to hear some people I haven't heard in a minute, and hear what they're doing. I'm to Orrin Evans' Captain Black Big Band with Lisa Fisher and Bilal, because he's writing some new arrangements for that. And also TK Blue, who's opening up on Friday with Steve Teray and Roland Guerrero, Willard Martinez. It's going to be and Benito Gonzalez. That's going to be a hip group as well.
All right. Well, up next is Rich's turn. You ready, Rich? As ready as you'll ever be, huh?
Yeah, I just didn't want to say that, but you did.
The great Cuban conguero and bandleader Candido Camero, after moving to New York City in 1946, Candido played with Dizzy Gillespie, Stan Kenton, and Billy Taylor. What tenor saxophonist did Candido subsequently make 3 recordings with in the 1950s? Would that have been A, Sonny Rollins, B, Dexter Gordon, C, Coleman Hawkins, D, Gene Ammons, or E, Illinois Jacquet?
You didn't disappoint me again this time. Another tough question. Yeah, I really have no idea. I wasn't aware that he recorded with so many albums with one of these great tenor players. So I would, I would guesstimate that it might have been Sonny Rollins, Dave.
That answer is incorrect. And Brian Bacchus with a chance to steal the question. And the question is, the great Cuban conguero and band leader Candido Camero, after moving to New York City in 1946, Candido played with Dizzy Gillespie, Stan Kenton, and Billy Taylor. What tenor saxophonist did Candido Camero subsequently make 3 recordings with in the 1950s? And A, Sonny Rollins has been eliminated. B, Dexter Gordon. C, Coleman Hawkins. D, Gene Ammons. Or E, Illinois Jacquet.
Okay, so I'm pretty sure because I know of at least 3 albums that Candido has played on by him. And I don't know, I'm trying to think if I know anybody with Dexter or with Coleman Hawkins. But, and I'm not sure about Jaquette, but I think it's D, Gene Ammons.
That is correct. That is correct. Candido did indeed record 3 albums with the great Jug, Gene Ammons. All right, Brian, your turn next. In 1957, vocal great Tony Bennett, who, as we know, has joined the Ancestors a few weeks back, Tony Bennett made a jazz album titled The Beat of My Heart. Who was the drummer on that date? Was it A, Dave Tuff, B, Gene Krupa, C, Buddy Rich, D, Roy Haynes, or E, Art Blakey?
Okay, so I honestly have to do not know. I would be taking a guess. Oh man. Just because he has played in so many different situations with so many different people, across generations even, I'm going to guess D, Roy Haynes.
That is incorrect. And Rich with a chance to steal the point. Okay, Rich. In 1957, vocal great Tony Bennett made a jazz album titled The Beat of My Heart. Who was the drummer on that date? Was it A, Dave Tuff, B, Gene Krupa, C, Buddy Rich, D, Roy Haynes has been eliminated, or E, Art Blakey?
Well, when you read the question the first time, I tried to zero in on, again, it's a logic thing. It's not a well-known fact to me, the answer to this question. But just strictly from a logical standpoint, it seems like it would be one of 2 drummers, the guys that occupy the middle of the questionnaire, and I'm sort of between B and C. At first I thought it might be Buddy, and I still think it might be him. But I don't know. I think Tony Bennett would have been more compatible with Gene Krupa.
Gene Krupa?
Yeah.
That is incorrect. In 1957, Tony Bennett made a jazz album called The Beat of My Heart, and the drummer on that date was what some might consider the least likely of that group, and that would be E, Art
Oh,
Blakey.
wow, you got us.
Yeah.
I'll remember that one.
All right, Rich. Rich, the singer Karen Allison made a 2001 album for the Concord label titled Ballads as her tribute to whom? Would that have been her tribute to A, John Coltrane, B, Peggy Lee, C, Tony Bennett, D, Frank Sinatra, or E, Ella Fitzgerald?
You got any easy questions today?
Yeah.
Gee, it's impossible. Um, well, I mean, from the standpoint of women, the only woman that would be in there would be Peggy Lee. I don't know if that means anything. Um, Again, when you were reading the question, I kind of flashed on Sinatra for a second, but well, I don't know. It's probably going to be D, but I'm gonna pick Sinatra D.
You're gonna say what?
Frank Sinatra.
Frank Sinatra. That is incorrect. And Brian with an opportunity to steal the question. Brian?
Wow.
Singer Karen Allison made a 2001 album for the Concord label titled Ballads as her tribute to which of the following musicians? Would that have been A, John Coltrane, B, Peggy Lee, C, Tony Bennett, D, Frank Sinatra has been eliminated, or E, Ella Fitzgerald?
Wow. So, man, you're throwing us some curves today, huh? Um, because it's called ballads, and we're throwing all these singers, and then we have our curveball, which is John Coltrane. And John Coltrane had an album called Ballads that maybe it's a tribute to A, John Coltrane. That was a lucky guess.
That is correct. It was Karen Allison's recreation of John Coltrane's Ballads album. She did all the tracks from John Coltrane's Ballads album as a tribute to John Coltrane. So that leaves Brian up next. Brian, Ella Fitzgerald was born in which American city? Would that have been A, Yonkers, New York, B, New York, New York, C, Newport News, Virginia, D, Queens, New York, or E, Richmond, Virginia?
I'm torn between A and B. I'm going to say A, Yonkers.
Yonkers, New York?
Yeah.
That's incorrect.
Yeah,
And
I
Rich
did.
has an opportunity to steal the point. Rich, Ella Fitzgerald was born in which American city? Was it A, Yonkers, New York, and that's been eliminated? B, New York, New York. C, Newport News, Virginia. D, Queens, New York. Or E, Richmond, Virginia?
Well, very consistently with the other questions. I have no idea. I never studied Ella's birthplace, so I don't know. But I'm gonna guess the same city where I was born. Seems to be, again, from a logical standpoint, he would have had a better chance of getting into the mainstream. I think he started with Fifth West, my memory serves me correctly, and I think it was uptown in Harlem. So I'm going to go with New York. New York, New York.
That too is incorrect. Ella Fitzgerald was born in Newport News, Virginia. Newport News, and I put two cities in Virginia in there, and that could have been a clue, but it was Newport News, Virginia. So, Rich, you're up next. Pianist and composer Randy Weston, as a young man, performed with which of the following blues artists? Was it A, Muddy Waters, B, John Lee Hooker, C, Bessie Smith, D, Eddie Cleanhead Vinson, or E, Bull Moose Jackson?
Well, another evasive question to me, anyway. You could have asked me who his arranger was, and I would have been able to answer Melba Liston.
Trombone.
Of course, yeah. That's not an of course either, but all right, it's easier than this. Well, again, it's a guess, but the only guy on, or the only person on that list that I had a chance to perform with once is Eddie Cleanhead Vinson. So I'm going to go with that.
That is correct. As a young man, a young artist, Randy Weston did indeed perform and tour with Eddie Cleanhead Vinson, or you could have also said E, Bull Moose Jackson. Both of those were correct. That was one question that had two correct answers. So our current score is Brian 7 and Rich 4. And now our bonus round, Rich will have an opportunity to catch up. You ready, Rich?
Answer yet?
All right. Well, bassist Corcoran Holt, who has made one record as a leader and who performs most frequently and most notably with NEA Jazz Master saxophonist Kenny Garrett, and who was recently just appointed a bass professor at Arizona State University, is a native of what city? Would that be A, New York City, B, Chicago, Illinois, C, Philadelphia, PA, D, Washington, D.C., or E, Baltimore, Maryland?
Well, God bless the gentleman. I have no recognition of him. He's not somebody that I've had the pleasure of meeting or hearing yet. I haven't followed him. I have no idea. Let's see. Sort of between two cities, East Coast cities. I don't know. I'll try Baltimore. Okay.
Close, but no cigar. Corcoran Holt is a native of Washington, D.C. In fact, he went to Duke Ellington School of the Arts in Washington, D.C., and that means that Brian Bacchus is our continuing Jazzology champion.
Wow, these were tough These are tough this week.
Congratulations to Brian Bacchus on your win. We encourage each and every one of you to try your hand and play Jazzology. And if anyone watching would like to become a contestant on Jazzology, click the link below and simply fill out the form. You must be 18 years old or older, and be sure to follow us on social media at Jazzology Trivia Show to get all of the latest news and updates. Thanks so much to Brian Bacchus, and to our challenger, Rich Pulin, and to everyone who joined us for our 38th episode of Jazzology today. Remember, you can check out Jazzology every other Friday at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and if you missed the show live, you can find the archive on the Savage Content YouTube channel. Thanks again for joining us, and we'll catch you next